When struggling farm girl Lily Parker returns millionaire rancher Logan Mitchell's stolen horse, she never expects it to change her life. But as their worlds collide and sparks ignite, will love prove stronger than pride and past wounds? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The morning sun cast long shadows across the rolling hills of Riverdale County as Logan Mitchell surveyed his vast property from the porch of his ranch house. At 45, he had everything a man could want: a sprawling 500-acre ranch, a stable full of championship horses, and more money than he could spend in a lifetime. Everything except someone to share it with. "Mr. Mitchell, the auction paperwork is ready for your signature." His assistant, Deborah, handed him a folder with documents inside. Logan nodded, taking the folder without looking at it. "Is everything set for tomorrow's auction?" "Yes, sir. You've got 3 horses entered, including Midnight. The odds are in your favor. Everyone's saying Midnight will fetch at least 100,000. A smile of satisfaction crossed Logan's tanned face. Midnight was his pride and joy. A magnificent black stallion with a bloodline as impressive as any in the country. He'd raised that horse from a foal, trained him himself when others said the stallion was too wild to be tamed. "Midnight isn't just any horse, Deborah. He's special." Logan's voice held a rare tenderness when he spoke about the stallion. "If you say so, sir." Deborah had never understood his fascination with horses. To her, they were just expensive investments, which, to be fair, was exactly how Logan approached most things in life. Everything had a price tag. Everything could be bought or sold. That's how he'd built his fortune after inheriting his father's struggling ranch 15 years ago. Buy low, sell high, never get emotionally attached. That philosophy had turned Riverdale Ranch into the premier horse breeding operation in 3 states. The next day, the Lakeside Equestrian Center buzzed with excitement as wealthy ranchers and horse enthusiasts from all over the country gathered for the annual spring showcase auction. Men in custom suits and women in designer dresses mingled near the arena, champagne flutes in hand, as they discussed bloodlines and racing records. Logan stood apart from the crowd, watching, as his ranch hands prepared Midnight for his turn in the ring. The stallion was restless, sensing the energy in the air. "Easy, boy," Logan murmured, approaching the horse and stroking his gleaming black neck. "Show them what you're made of today, and then you'll have the pick of any mare in the country." A voice came over the loudspeaker. "Next up, lot number 42, Midnight Shadow, a 5-year-old thoroughbred stallion from Riverdale Ranch owned by Logan Mitchell." The crowd erupted in applause as Midnight entered the arena, his coat gleaming under the lights, his gait powerful and proud. Logan watched with satisfaction as the bidding started at 30,000 and quickly climbed. 70,000, 80,000, 90,000, $100,000, called a voice from the back of the room. A hush fell over the crowd as people turned to see who had made such a bid. A man in a dark suit stood up, his expression unreadable. Logan recognized him immediately. Victor Harrington, his longtime rival from the neighboring county. "Sold for $100,000 to Mr. Victor Harrington," the auctioneer announced, bringing down his gavel with a crack that echoed through the arena. Logan felt a surprising pang in his chest. He hadn't expected to feel this way about selling. Midnight, it was business after all. But watching as his ranch hands led the stallion away to be transferred to Harrington's transport team left him with an emptiness he hadn't anticipated. "Congratulations, Mitchell," Harrington said, approaching him with an extended hand. "You've raised quite a horse there." Logan shook his hand firmly, masking his emotions behind a businessman's smile. "He's worth every penny, Harrington. Treat him well." "Oh, I intend to," Harrington replied with a smirk that Logan didn't quite trust. "He'll be the cornerstone of my new breeding program." 2 days later, Logan was in his office reviewing financial statements when his phone rang. He picked it up without looking, still focused on the numbers. Before him, "Mitchell here." "Mr. Mitchell, it's Dave from Transport." The man's voice sounded nervous. "We've got a problem, sir." Logan's attention immediately shifted. "What kind of problem?" "It's Midnight, sir. He's gone." "What do you mean, gone?" Logan stood up so abruptly his chair crashed against the wall behind him. "We stopped at a rest area about 50 miles outside Harrington's place. When we came back to the trailer, the lock was broken and Midnight was missing." Logan's heart pounded in his chest. "Have you called the police?" "Yes, sir. They're on their way now, but I thought you should know right away. I'm coming there, don't touch anything else." Logan hung up and grabbed his keys, a cold fury building inside him. Someone had stolen Midnight, his Midnight, and he wouldn't rest until he got him back. For the next 3 days, Logan barely slept. He offered a $20,000 reward for information leading to Midnight's return. He hired private investigators. He personally visited every stable and ranch within a 100-mile radius of where the horse had disappeared. Nothing. On the 4th day, Logan returned to his ranch house exhausted and defeated. He poured himself a whiskey and stood by the window, looking out at the setting sun. For the first time in years, he felt helpless. Money couldn't solve this problem. His connections couldn't bring Midnight back. The sound of tires on gravel pulled him from his thoughts. He wasn't expecting visitors. Setting down his glass, he walked to the front door, squinting against the glare of headlights as a beat-up truck pulled into his circular driveway. That's when he saw him, Midnight, standing calmly in a small trailer, attached to the truck. Logan raced down the porch steps, his heart pounding. The stallion nickered softly when he saw Logan, a familiar greeting that made Logan's throat tighten unexpectedly. A young woman climbed out of the driver's seat of the truck. She was dressed simply in worn jeans and a plaid shirt, her brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She couldn't have been more than 30, with a face that looked like it had seen its share of hardship, but remained stubbornly hopeful. "Mr. Mitchell?" she asked, her voice steady, despite the obvious nervousness in her eyes. "Yes." Logan approached cautiously, half expecting this to be some kind of trick. "And you are?" "Lily Parker." She extended her hand. "I believe this is your horse." Logan shook her hand, noting the calluses that spoke of hard work. "How did you find him?" "He found me, actually." Lily walked to the trailer and unlatched the door, gently leading Midnight out. The stallion followed her without resistance, something that surprised Logan given the horse's usually temperamental nature with strangers. "He showed up on my property 2 nights ago. I recognized him from the missing posters you put up." Logan approached Midnight, running his hands over the horse's neck and flanks, checking for injuries. The stallion seemed perfectly fine, not a scratch on him. "You've taken good care of him," Logan observed, his suspicion giving way to gratitude. Lily shrugged. "I know horses. He needed grain and rest after whatever adventure he'd been on." Logan studied her more carefully. There was something about her directness that intrigued him. No simpering, no false modesty, just simple facts stated plainly. "The reward is $20,000, he said, pulling out his checkbook from his back pocket. "I can write you a check right now." To his surprise, Lily shook her head. "I don't take what I haven't earned, Mr. Mitchell. Finding a lost horse that wandered onto my property doesn't merit that kind of money." Logan stared at her, bewildered. In his experience, everyone had a price. Everyone wanted something from him. "You're turning down $20,000? I'm not comfortable taking it, that's all." Lily reached into her pocket and pulled out a worn business card, handing it to him. "But if you're feeling generous, my animal rescue could use a donation. We help rehabilitate injured farm animals." Logan took the card, reading the simple text, "Second Chance Farm Animal Rescue, Lily Parker, owner." Below was a phone number and an address about 30 miles from his ranch. "You run an animal rescue?" he asked, suddenly curious about this. Woman who turned down easy money, but cared enough to drive 50 miles to return a stranger's horse. "It's more of a side project. I inherited my family's farm, but it's seen better days. The rescue helps some, but..." She trailed off, then squared her shoulders. "Anyway, I should get going. It's a long drive back." Logan wanted to ask her more questions, but she was already heading back to her truck. Midnight nudged his shoulder as if encouraging him. "Wait," Logan called. "At least let me give you something for your trouble, for the feed and care." "Really?" "It's fine," Lily insisted. "I'm just glad he's back where he belongs." As she climbed into her truck, Logan was struck by a sudden impulse. "Miss Parker, Lily, wait. I have a proposition for you." Lily paused, one foot on the running board of her truck. "What kind of proposition?" I need a new trainer for my younger horses, someone with a natural touch. He nodded toward Midnight, who was still standing calmly beside him without a lead rope, something the stallion never did with anyone else. Midnight trusts you, and he doesn't trust easily. That tells me all I need to know. Lily's expression turned cautious. I have my own place to run, Mr. Mitchell. You said yourself it's seen better days. Work for me and I'll help you save your farm. Good horse trainers are hard to find and I pay well. He could see the conflict in her eyes, pride warring with practicality. Finally, she asked, what exactly would this job entail? 6 months. You work with my younger stock 3 days a week. In exchange, I'll pay you a fair salary, plus cover some improvements to your farm, new fencing, roof repairs, whatever you need most. Lily bit her lip, considering. And I'd still have time to run my own place. Logan nodded. I'm not looking to own your life, Ms. Parker, just your expertise for 3 days a week. After a long moment, Lily nodded. I'll think about it. Can I let you know tomorrow? Take your time, you have my number. As he watched her drive away, Logan led Midnight back to his stable, surprised at his own impulsive offer. He didn't need another trainer, but something about Lily Parker made him want to know more. Later that night, as Logan settled into his king-sized bed in his empty house, his thoughts kept returning to Lily Parker. In the world, he inhabited a world of wealth and status and careful calculations. People like her were rare. People who returned valuable horses without demanding rewards. People whose eyes reflected honesty rather than greed. He told himself his interest. It was purely professional. Her way with horses was exceptional, that's all. But deep down, Logan Mitchell knew there was something more drawing him to the struggling farm girl, with the quiet dignity and gentle hands. Just before he drifted off to sleep, his phone pinged with a message. Mr. Mitchell, this is Lily Parker. I've thought about your offer and I accept. When would you like me to start? Logan smiled in the darkness. For the first time in years, he felt a stirring of something he'd long forgotten, anticipation. Lily Parker couldn't sleep. Her farmhouse, a century-old structure with more character than comfort, creaked and groaned around her as she paced the worn floorboards of her bedroom. Had she made the right decision accepting Logan Mitchell's offer? She'd heard all about him, of course. Everyone in the county knew Logan Mitchell, the millionaire rancher who turned his father's modest property into an empire. They said he was ruthless in business, that he cared more about profit than people. They said he treated relationships like transactions, short-term investments with clear exit strategies. But she'd also seen the way he looked at that horse, the genuine relief in his eyes when he saw Midnight safe and sound. There was a man behind the money, one who perhaps cared more deeply than he let on. And right now Lily needed help. Her farm, the land that had been in her family for 4 generations, was slipping away from her. Last month's mortgage payment had been late. The roof leaked in 3 places. The barn needed structural repairs before winter. Working for Logan, Mitchell might be her only chance to save her home and the rescue animals that depended on her. 3 days a week seemed manageable. She could still care for her own place the rest of the time. It's just a job, she told herself firmly. Nothing more. But as she finally crawled into bed, pulling the patchwork quilt her grandmother had made up to her chin, Lily couldn't shake the feeling that accepting Logan Mitchell's offer would change her life in ways she couldn't yet imagine. The next morning dawned clear and bright. Lily was up before sunrise. As usual, feeding the animals at her rescue, 3 retired farm horses, a one-eyed goat named Pirate, a small herd of rescued sheep, and a 3-legged dog called Tripod who followed her everywhere. What do you think, Tripod? She asked as she filled his bowl with kibble. Am I crazy to get involved with someone like Logan Mitchell? The dog looked up at her with adoring eyes and wagged his tail, completely unhelpful. After finishing her chores, Lily showered and changed into her best jeans and a button-down shirt that didn't have any patches or stains. She even took the time to apply a little mascara and lip gloss, not for Logan Mitchell's benefit, she told herself, but because this was a professional meeting and she wanted to look the part. As she drove her old truck through the gates of Riverdale Ranch, Lily couldn't help feeling intimidated. The contrast between her struggling family farm and this palace of equestrian excellence was stark. The main house alone was bigger than her entire property. The stables gleamed with fresh paint and brass fixtures. Even the grass looked richer and greener. She parked next to a row of expensive trucks and SUVs, suddenly self-conscious about her 15-year-old pickup with its rusted fenders and mismatched door, replaced after an unfortunate encounter with a fallen tree branch 3 winters ago. A woman in pressed khakis and a polo shirt with the Riverdale Ranch logo embroidered on the breast approached as Lily climbed out of her truck. "You must be Ms. Parker," the woman said, her tone professional but not particularly warm. "I'm Deborah Simmons, Mr. Mitchell's assistant. He's expecting you. Follow me, please." Lily followed Deborah across a courtyard to a building that looked more like a luxury home than an office. Inside, the decor was masculine and expensive. Leather furniture, Western art on the walls, a massive stone fireplace. Logan Mitchell stood when she entered, coming around his desk to greet her. He was dressed more casually today in jeans and a button-down shirt, though Lily suspected his outfit cost more than her monthly mortgage payment. "Miss Parker, thank you for coming," he said, extending his hand. "Please call me Lily," she replied, shaking his hand firmly. "Then I'm Logan." He gestured to a chair across from his desk. "Have a seat. Can Deborah get you anything? Coffee? Water?" "Water would be nice, thank you." Once they were settled with drinks and Deborah had discreetly left. Closing the door behind her, Logan leaned forward, his expression businesslike. "So I thought we'd start by discussing what exactly I'm looking for in a trainer, and then I'd like to see you work with some of our younger horses to get a sense of your methods." Lily nodded, trying to project confidence she didn't entirely feel. "That sounds reasonable." For the next hour, they discussed horses, training techniques, handling methods, feeding protocols. Lily found herself relaxing as they talked about the one subject where she felt completely competent. Logan was knowledgeable too, she realized. Not just a wealthy owner who delegated everything, but someone who understood horses on a fundamental level. "You really know your stuff," Logan commented, sounding genuinely impressed. "Where did you train?" Lily smiled, a bit self-conscious. "No formal training. My dad taught me everything I know. He had a way with difficult horses. People would bring their problem cases to him from all over the county. And now you run a rescue on top of trying to keep your family farm going." Logan's tone was curious rather than judgmental. "That's a lot for one person to handle." "It can be," Lily admitted. "But the animals need someone, and the farm—" She hesitated, then decided honesty was the best approach. "The farm is all I have left of my family. My parents died 3 years ago, car accident. They left the place to me, but times haven't been easy for small farms." Logan's expression softened slightly. "I understand wanting to hold on to your heritage. My father built this place from nothing. When he died, I promised myself I'd make it something he'd be proud of." For a moment, Lily glimpsed something unexpected in Logan's eyes, a vulnerability that the successful businessman kept carefully hidden, but it disappeared so quickly, she wondered if she'd imagined it. "Shall we head to the stables?" Logan asked, standing up. "I'd like you to meet some of our horses." As they walked across the property, Lily marveled at the operation Logan had built. The training rings were state-of-the-art, the barns immaculate, the horses clearly well cared for. "This is Stormy," Logan said as they approached a stall where a gray 2-year-old filly paced nervously. "She's got potential, but she's high-strung. Nobody's been able to get her to focus during training." Lily approached the stall slowly, speaking softly to the young horse. "Hey there, beautiful girl. What's got you so worked up, huh?" The filly stopped pacing and pricked her ears forward, interested in this new person. Lily extended her hand, palm flat, and waited. After a moment's hesitation, Stormy stretched her neck and sniffed Lily's hand. "May I go in?" Lily asked Logan. He nodded, though she noticed a flicker of concern cross his face. "Be careful. She's been known to kick." Lily slipped into the stall, still talking quietly to the filly. She didn't reach for the horse but stood still, letting Stormy investigate her. The young horse circled Lily cautiously, then approached, nudging her pocket hopefully. Sorry, no treats right now, Lily said with a laugh. She began running her hands gently over the filly's neck and shoulders, feeling for tension. You're just scared, aren't you? Everything's so new and confusing. To Logan's visible amazement, the usually fractious filly stood quietly under Lily's touch, her eyelids drooping slightly in relaxation. How are you doing that? He asked from outside the stall. Lily shrugged. I'm not doing anything special, just giving her a chance to set the pace. She continued her gentle examination of the horse. She's got some tension in her shoulders. Has she been checked for pain during saddling? Logan frowned. The vet gave her a clean bill of health. Sometimes it's not something a vet can see in an exam. It might be worth having a chiropractor. Look at her. Lily ran her hands along the filly's spine. I think she might be uncomfortable, and that's making her anxious during training. Logan watched her work with an expression Lily couldn't quite read. Surprise mixed with something else. Respect, maybe? Would you be willing to work with her specifically? He asked. As part of your duties here? Lily nodded, still focused on the horse. Of course, she's a sweetheart under all this nervousness. They spent the next 2 hours touring the stables, with Lily meeting each of the younger horses and offering her observations. By the time they finished, she had a notebook, full of notes, and Logan had a thoughtful expression on his face. I have to say, Ms. Parr, Lily, you've impressed me today. You see things in these horses that my other trainers have missed. Lily felt a flush of pride at his words. Thank you. They're wonderful animals. You've done a good job with their basic care. So are you still interested in the position? 3 days a week, working primarily with the younger stock and problem cases. Yes, Lily said without hesitation. I'd like to help these horses reach their potential. Good. Logan's smile transformed his face, making him look younger and more approachable. Let's discuss compensation and scheduling. As they walked back to his office, Lily felt a mix of emotions. Excitement about working with such beautiful horses, nervousness about fitting this new job into her already packed schedule, and an unsettling awareness of Logan Mitchell as more than just a wealthy employer. There was depth to him that contradicted his reputation, and Lily found herself curious to discover more. What she didn't know was that Logan was having similar thoughts about her, the farm girl with gentle hands and a stubborn streak who had returned his prize horse without asking for a reward. The woman who spoke to horses in a language they understood, who clearly had a gift that couldn't be taught. As they finalized the details of their arrangement, neither one realized that this professional relationship would soon test the boundaries they'd both carefully constructed around their hearts. Lily Parker arrived at Riverdale Ranch promptly at 7 in the morning for her first official day as a trainer. The early morning mist still clung to the rolling pastures, and the ranch hands were just beginning their daily routines. She parked her truck next to a row of employee vehicles, noting that even these were newer and more expensive than her own battered pickup. She made her way to the main stable, where Troy Bellows, the head stable manager, was waiting for her. Logan had introduced them briefly during her tour last week. Morning, Ms. Parker, Troy said gruffly. A stocky man in his 50s with weathered skin and suspicious eyes. He didn't bother to hide his skepticism. Boss told me to show you around, get you set up with the problem horses. Good morning, Troy, and please call me Lily. She extended her hand, which he shook after a moment's hesitation. No offense, but we've had professional trainers from Kentucky try to work with some of these horses, Troy said as he led her down the center aisle of the immaculate stable. Not sure what the boss expects you to do that they couldn't. Lily swallowed her irritation. She'd encountered this kind of attitude before. Men who assumed she couldn't possibly know what she was doing because she was a woman or because she didn't have fancy credentials. I guess we'll find out, she replied with a calm she didn't entirely feel. Sometimes a fresh approach is all that's needed. Troy grunted non-committally and stopped in front of a stall where a chestnut gelding stood with his head in the corner, ignoring them completely. This here's Rebel. 3-year-old quarter horse with champion bloodlines, but he won't let anyone near him with a saddle. Last trainer said he was hopeless. Troy's tone suggested he agreed with that assessment. Lily studied the horse without entering the stall. His body language screamed fear and distrust, not aggression. How long has he been like this? Came to us this way 6 months ago. Boss bought him at auction despite the warnings. Troy shook his head. Man has more money than sense sometimes, or maybe he saw potential where others didn't, Lily countered. She approached the stall door slowly. Hey there, Rebel. Mind if I join you for a bit? The horse's ears flicked back at the sound of her voice, but he remained facing the corner. I'll leave you to it then, Troy said. Got my own work to do. The boss wants a progress report at the end of the day. His tone clearly communicated his expectation of failure. Once Troy was gone, Lily entered the stall quietly, making sure to leave the door slightly ajar in case she needed to exit quickly. She didn't approach Rebel directly, but settled herself on a small stool in the corner opposite from where the horse stood. Just you and me now, buddy, she said softly, pulling an apple from her pocket and taking a bite. The crunching sound finally got Rebel to turn his head slightly, one eye regarding her warily. Lily continued talking in a low, soothing voice as she ate the apple, occasionally offering a slice to Rebel by placing it on the ground near her feet. By the time she finished the apple, the horse had turned around completely and taken a few tentative steps toward her. That's it, she encouraged. Nothing bad is going to happen to you here. For the next hour, Lily simply sat in the stall, sometimes talking, sometimes silent, letting Rebel grow accustomed to her presence. Eventually, the horse came close enough to sniff her outstretched hand. Good boy, she whispered, fighting the urge to reach out and touch him. That would come later. Today was about building trust. Logan Mitchell sat in his office reviewing financial reports, but his mind kept wandering to the new trainer he'd hired. He'd scheduled a meeting with her at the end of the day to hear about her progress, but curiosity was getting the better of him. Surely it wouldn't hurt to check in earlier. He set aside the reports and headed toward the stables. As he approached, he spotted Troy directing a delivery of hay bales. Morning, Troy. How's Ms. Parker settling in? Logan asked. Troy's expression was unreadable. Been in with Rebel for nearly 2 hours now. Told her she was wasting her time with that one. Logan raised an eyebrow. And what did she say to that? A grudging smile tugged at the corner of Troy's mouth. Said she'd rather make up her own mind, thank you very much. Got spirit, I'll give her that. Logan nodded, pleased by this report despite himself. He continued to the stables, moving quietly as he approached Rebel's stall. What he saw stopped him in his tracks. Lily was sitting cross-legged on the straw-covered floor, and Rebel, the horse that had attacked the last trainer who tried to touch him, was standing beside her, his head lowered as she gently stroked his neck. You've had a rough time, haven't you? Lily was saying softly. But you're safe now, nobody's going to hurt you here. Logan watched, fascinated by the scene before him. There was something almost magical about the way she connected with the troubled horse. No force, no fancy equipment, just patience and understanding. He must have made a noise because Lily looked up suddenly, meeting his eyes. She held a finger to her lips, indicating he should stay quiet, then whispered something to Rebel and slowly got to her feet. The horse shifted nervously, but didn't retreat to his corner. Lily slipped out of the stall and joined Logan in the aisle. Sorry to interrupt, Logan said, genuinely contrite. I was just curious about how you were getting on. It's fine, Lily replied. We were about done for today anyway. He needs time to process. That's impressive, Logan admitted, glancing at the horse who was now watching them with alert interest rather than fear. Troy said the last trainer couldn't get within 5 feet of him. Lily shrugged, though Logan could see she was pleased by the compliment. Rebel's not mean, he's terrified. Someone hurt him badly and he doesn't trust people anymore. Can't really blame him for that. Something in her tone made Logan wonder if she was still talking about the horse. Will you be able to get him under saddle eventually? Maybe. Maybe not. It depends on what happened to him and how deep the trauma goes. She met Logan's gaze directly. Some wounds take longer to heal than others, and pushing too fast just makes things worse. I hope you're not expecting miracles overnight. No miracles, Logan assured her. Just progress. He gestured toward the next stall. What about Stormy? Any thoughts on her? For the next hour, they walked through the stables together, discussing each of the horses Lily would be working with. Logan found himself impressed, not just by her knowledge, but by her practical, no-nonsense approach. She didn't rely on expensive gadgets or complicated theories, just good horsemanship and a keen eye for each animal's individual needs. "You really do have a gift," he said as they finished their tour. "Where did you learn all this?" Lily's expression softened at the question. "My father, mostly. He could calm a spooked horse just by walking into the barn. Said it was all about respect. You give it to get it. Sounds like a wise man." He was. A shadow crossed her face. "I miss him every day. He and my mum built our farm from nothing. I can't stand the thought of losing it." Logan heard the emotion in her voice and felt a surprising urge to reassure her. "Your farm will be fine. The work you do here will help secure its future." Lily nodded, composed once more. "That's the plan. Speaking of which, I should get back to work. I want to check on the filly with the sore back before lunch." As he watched her walk away, Logan realized he was more intrigued by Lily Parker than he'd been by any woman in years. There was an authenticity about her that was refreshing. In his world of calculated business moves and social climbing, she said what she meant and meant what she said, a rarity in his experience. "Dangerous thinking, Mitchell," he muttered to himself as he headed back to his office. Mixing business with pleasure never ended well. Besides, they were from different worlds. What could a millionaire rancher and a struggling farm girl possibly have in common beyond horses? Size of 3 weeks into her new job, Lily had settled into a rhythm. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays were spent at Riverdale Ranch, working with the horses that needed special attention. The other days, she devoted to her own farm and rescue animals. To her surprise, she'd found herself enjoying the work at Logan's ranch more than she'd expected. The facilities were top-notch, the horses exceptional, and even Troy had grudgingly begun to respect her methods as he saw the results. Rebel now accepted her touch anywhere on his body, though he still tensed when anyone else approached. Stormy had been seen by an equine chiropractor who confirmed Lily's suspicion about back pain and was responding well to treatment. Several other young horses were making steady progress in their training. It was a warm Friday afternoon when Logan found her in the round pen working with a spirited bay colt who was learning to respond to voice commands. "Impressive," Logan said as she guided the colt through a series of turns and stops without touching him. Lily smiled, pleased by the praise. "He's smart. Picks things up quickly." She concluded the session and released the young horse into the adjoining paddock before joining Logan at the fence. "I wanted to talk to you about Midnight," Logan said, leaning against the railing. "I've been thinking of putting him back into training for shows, and given your rapport with him, I wondered if you'd be interested in taking that on." Lily raised her eyebrows in surprise. "Midnight? But he's your personal horse, isn't he? I thought you worked with him yourself." Logan looked slightly uncomfortable. "I used to, but my schedule's been too full lately. He deserves better than the sporadic attention I've been giving him." "I'd be honored," Lily said, genuinely pleased by the offer. "He's an exceptional animal." "Good. That's settled then." Logan hesitated, then added, "Actually, there was something else I wanted to discuss with you. I'm hosting a charity event here at the ranch next weekend, a fundraiser for the county's 4-H programs. There will be a demonstration of some of our horses' abilities, and I'd like to include Rebel to show his progress. Would he be ready for that?" Lily frowned thoughtfully. "A crowd would be too much for him right now, but perhaps we could film a short session in advance. Show his progress without stressing him?" Logan nodded, appreciating her concern for the horse. "That works. One more thing. I'd like you to attend the event as my guest, not as staff. Many of the county's most influential horse people will be there. It would be good for your reputation to meet them." Lily felt a flutter of nervousness. "I don't really do well at fancy parties, Logan. I wouldn't know what to say to those people." "Just be yourself," Logan advised with a smile that made her heart beat a little faster. "Talk horses with them, that's all they really care about anyway." Before she could decline again, he added, "Please, I could use someone there who actually understands horses better than designer labels. Put that way, how could she refuse? All right, but don't expect me to fit in with your society friends." "That's exactly why I want you there," Logan said with a grin. "Someone real among all the fakery." As he walked away, Lily tried to ignore the warmth that spread through her at his words. This was a professional relationship, she reminded herself. Sternly, nothing more. The night of the charity event arrived, and Lily stood in front of her bedroom mirror, hardly recognizing herself. She'd splurged on a new dress, a simple navy blue wrap dress that was the most expensive piece of clothing she'd ever owned. She'd even made a trip to the salon in town for a trim and style, her usually practical ponytail replaced by soft waves that framed her face. "This is ridiculous," she told her reflection. "You're not Cinderella, and Logan Mitchell is definitely not Prince Charming." Still, she couldn't help the nervous excitement that bubbled up as she drove to Riverdale Ranch. The long driveway was lined with twinkling lights for the occasion, and valets in uniforms waited to park guests' cars. Lily cringed as she handed over her keys to her old truck, imagining what the young valet must think compared to the luxury vehicles surrounding it. She'd barely taken 2 steps toward the magnificently lit house when Logan appeared at her side. "You made it," he said, his eyes taking in her appearance with evident appreciation. "And you look beautiful." Lily felt her cheeks warm at the compliment. "Thank you. This is all a bit overwhelming." Logan offered his arm. "It's just people, Lily. Rich, sometimes obnoxious people, but still just people. Stick with me." Inside, the ranch house had been transformed into a glittering event space. Flower arrangements adorned every surface, waiters circulated with champagne and hors d'oeuvres, and a string quartet played in the corner. Through the French doors, Lily could see that the back terrace and gardens were similarly decorated, with strings of lights illuminating the paths. "Logan, darling." A woman in a glittering gold dress approached them, air-kissing Logan's cheeks before turning curious eyes to Lily. "And who is your lovely friend?" "Victoria. This is Lily Parker, the new trainer I was telling you about." "Lily." "Victoria Harrington." Lily recognized the last name. Immediately, this must be Victor Harrington's wife, the man who had bought Midnight at auction before the horse was stolen. "Oh, the miracle worker," Victoria exclaimed with a bright smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Logan has been singing your praises, dear. Apparently you've done wonders with that hopeless horse of his. What was his name, Rebel?" "He's not hopeless," Lily replied, trying to keep her tone friendly despite the woman's condescending attitude. "Just misunderstood." Victoria laughed as if Lily had said something terribly amusing. "How charming. Logan, you must bring her over. For dinner sometime. She's refreshingly authentic." The way she said the word made it sound like an insult. "We'd be delighted," Logan replied smoothly, though Lily noticed his grip on her arm had tightened slightly. "If you'll excuse us, I need to introduce Lily to some of our other guests." As they moved away, Lily whispered, "Did you just accept a dinner invitation on my behalf?" Logan had the grace to look slightly abashed. "Sorry about that. Victoria's the type to spread gossip if she feels slighted. We don't actually have to go." "And she's married to Victor Harrington, the man who bought Midnight before he disappeared?" Logan nodded, his expression darkening. "Yes, though I've never been able to prove it. I suspect Victor had something to do with Midnight's disappearance. It's exactly the kind of underhanded move he's known for." "Then why socialize with them?" Lily asked, genuinely puzzled. "Business, unfortunately. The Harringtons control half the county's water rights. Being on their bad side could make things difficult for a lot of farmers, including me." Logan's tone was resigned. "Sometimes you have to play nice with people you'd rather avoid." Lily thought about this as Logan guided her through the crowd, introducing her to one wealthy couple after another. Most were polite, a few were genuinely interested in her work with horses, and some regarded her with the same condescending curiosity as Victoria Harrington, as if she were an exotic specimen Logan had brought in for their entertainment. The time they reached the terrace for the demonstration part of the evening, Lily was exhausted from smiling and making small talk. The guests gathered around a small arena where some of Riverdale's finest horses would be showcased. "Ladies and gentlemen," Logan addressed the crowd, "thank you all for your generous support of our county's 4-H programs tonight. As a special treat, we've prepared a short demonstration of some of Riverdale Ranch's finest equine residents." What followed was a carefully choreographed presentation of several beautifully trained horses performing various maneuvers. Lily watched with professional appreciation, noting the quality of the training and the natural talent of the animals. The finale featured Midnight, who entered the arena at liberty. No halter, no lead rope, and performed a series of movements, in perfect harmony with his handler. The crowd erupted in applause as the magnificent black stallion bowed to them at the conclusion. "That's the horse that was stolen, isn't it?" a woman nearby whispered to her companion. "How did Logan get him?" "Back? I heard some farm girl found him wandering and brought him back," the companion replied. "Probably hoping for a reward, but you know Logan, always the shrewd businessman. Bet he didn't give her a dime." Lily felt her cheeks burn as she realized they were talking about her. Logan, standing beside her, had clearly overheard as well. To her surprise, he stepped forward. "Actually," he said, his voice carrying just enough to be heard by the gossips and those nearby, "Miss Parker returned midnight without accepting any reward, despite my offer. Her integrity impressed me so much that I hired her to work with our young horses, and she's proven to be the most talented trainer I've ever encountered." The women looked mortified at being caught gossiping. Lily felt a rush of gratitude toward Logan for defending her, though part of her wished he hadn't drawn attention to her at all. "You didn't have to do that," she murmured, as the crowd's attention returned to the arena. Logan's expression was unusually serious. "Yes, I did. I won't have anyone questioning your character or your abilities." His hand found hers and squeezed it briefly. "You've more than earned your place here, Lily." Something shifted between them in that moment, a recognition of mutual respect that went beyond employer and employee. Lily felt it like a physical change in the air, and from the look in Logan's eyes, he felt it too. The moment was broken by the appearance of Victor Harrington, who approached them with a false smile. "Mitchell, quite a show you've put on tonight, and this must be the famous horse whisperer I've been hearing about." His gaze settled on Lily with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "Lily Parker," she said, extending her hand politely. Victor shook it, holding on a fraction too long. "Victor Harrington, I understand you're the one who found Midnight after his adventure." "Yes, he showed up at my farm," Lily replied, carefully neutral. "How fortunate." Victor's smile didn't reach his eyes. One might almost call it suspicious. How such a valuable animal just happened to find his way to someone who could return him to his rightful owner. Logan stepped forward, his posture protective. "What are you implying, Harrington?" Victor raised his hands in a gesture of innocence. "Nothing at all, Mitchell. Merely commenting on the remarkable coincidence. After all, you've clearly benefited from Miss Parker's timely appearance in your life." "Mr. Harrington," Lily said, keeping her voice steady despite her rising anger, "if you're suggesting I had anything to do with Midnight's disappearance, you should know that I report livestock theft not committed. Perhaps you should ask yourself who would benefit most from stealing a horse they just bought for $100,000. Victor's face darkened, but before he could respond, Logan placed a hand on Lily's back and smoothly steered her away. "We should check on the next demonstration. Excuse us, Harrington." Once they were out of earshot, Logan let out a low whistle. "I don't think I've ever seen anyone stand up to Victor like that. You realize he could make trouble for you?" Lily shrugged, though her heart was still racing. "I don't like being accused of things I didn't do. Besides, he struck me as the type of bully who backs down when confronted." Logan studied her with newfound respect. "You continue to surprise me, Lily Parker." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of conversations and introductions. By the time the last guests were leaving, Lily's feet ached from her unaccustomed heels, and she was desperate for some quiet after hours of social interaction. Logan found her sitting alone on a stone bench in the garden, away from the dwindling crowd. "Hiding?" he asked, settling beside her. "Just taking a breather," Lily admitted. "It's been a long night." "You were a hit, you know. 3 different ranch owners asked for your card, wanting training consultations." Lily looked at him in surprise. "Really?" Logan nodded. "Told you this would be good for your reputation." He hesitated, then added more softly, "Thank you for coming tonight. I know it wasn't your idea of fun." "Actually, parts of it were enjoyable," Lily admitted. "The horse demonstrations were beautiful." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the night air cool against their skin. In the distance, the string quartet was playing its final piece, the gentle melody floating across the gardens. "Victoria Harrington called me your date," Lily said suddenly, remembering a snippet of conversation she'd overheard. I told her I was just an employee, but she seemed convinced there was more to it. Logan sighed. Victoria sees romantic intrigue everywhere. It's how she entertains herself in that loveless marriage of hers. And what did you tell her? Lily asked, curious despite herself. Logan turned to look at her, his expression unreadable in the dim light of the garden lanterns. I told her that my relationship with you was none of her business. Lily's heart skipped a beat at his words and the intensity of his gaze. Logan, it's getting late, he said abruptly, standing up. Let me walk you to your car. The moment, whatever it had been, was gone. They walked in silence to where the valet had brought around her truck. When they reached it, Logan opened the driver's door for her, but didn't immediately step back to let her enter. I meant what I said earlier, he told her quietly, about your integrity and your talent. You're special, Lily. Before she could respond, he leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to her cheek. Drive safely, he murmured, then stepped back, giving her space to climb into the truck. Lily drove home in a daze, her cheek still tingling where his lips had touched it. This was dangerous territory, she knew. Logan Mitchell was her employer, a man from a world so different from hers that they might as well be from different planets. Getting emotionally involved with him could only lead to disaster. And yet, as she pulled into her own modest driveway, the contrast between her simple farmhouse and the luxury she'd just left didn't seem to matter quite as much as it had before. Because for all his wealth and status, Logan had looked at her tonight as if she were the most valuable thing in his world. Logan couldn't sleep. He paced the length of his bedroom, replaying the events of the evening in his mind. What had possessed him to kiss Lily's cheek like that? It was unprofessional, potentially complicated, and definitely not part of his usual carefully controlled approach to relationships. But there was nothing usual about Lily Parker. She was straightforward in a world of subtle manipulation, genuine, in a sea of false flattery. She cared more about a horse's well-being than about impressing wealthy clients. She'd stood up to Victor Harrington without flinching. In short, she was nothing like the women he typically dated, sophisticated socialites who understood the rules of the game, who expected expensive gifts and fancy restaurants, but not emotional intimacy or commitment. Logan stopped pacing and stared out at the moonlit pastures of his ranch. He'd built all of this through careful planning and strategic decisions, every move calculated for maximum return on investment. So why was he suddenly contemplating the most reckless move of his life, pursuing a relationship with an employee who'd made it clear she wasn't impressed by his wealth and who valued things he'd long ago dismissed as impractical, like emotional connection and family heritage? This is insane, he muttered to himself, turning away from the window. He needed to get his head straight. Tomorrow he'd maintain a professional distance, keep things strictly business. That was the sensible approach. But as he finally lay down to sleep, Logan couldn't help remembering the look in Lily's eyes when he'd defended her to the gossiping guests, or the subtle catch in her breath when he'd kissed her cheek. And for the first time in years, what felt right seemed more important than what made sense. The next Monday, Lily arrived at Riverdale Ranch with a mixture of anticipation and dread. How would Logan act after the moment they'd shared at the party? Should she pretend it never happened? Address it directly? To her surprise, Logan was nowhere to be seen when she arrived. Troy informed her that the boss had been called away on urgent business in Kentucky, something about a potential breeding arrangement for one of their stallions. Said to tell you he'll be gone most of the week, Troy added, watching her reaction closely. Left instructions that you're to continue with the training program as planned. Said you don't need supervision. Lily nodded, ignoring the pang of disappointment she felt. Of course, I'll get started with Rebel right away. For the next few days, Lily threw herself into her work, grateful for the distraction. Rebel continued to make progress, now accepting a saddle pad on his back without panicking. Stormy was responding well to her adjusted training regimen. Midnight seemed to enjoy their sessions together, quickly learning the new patterns Lily introduced. It was Wednesday afternoon when Deborah, Logan's assistant, approached her in the training ring. Ms. Parker, there's a situation at your farm. Deborah said, her normally composed face showing concern. "Your neighbor just called. Apparently there's been some kind of accident with your fencing, and some of your animals got out. They've rounded them up, but there's damage that needs immediate attention." Lily's heart raced with worry. "I need to go right away. Can you let Troy know I had to leave early?" "Of course," Deborah assured her. "And Mr. Mitchell asked me to remind you that if you need any assistance with your farm, Riverdale resources are at your disposal as part of your employment agreement." Lily thanked her and rushed to her truck, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. The drive to her farm seemed to take forever, though in reality it was only 30 minutes. When she finally turned into her driveway, she was surprised to see several trucks already there, including one she recognized as belonging to her elderly neighbor, Mr. Grayson. She found Mr. Grayson supervising two young men who were repairing a section of fence that had been badly damaged. Her rescue animals were all safely contained in the barn and nearby paddock. "What happened?" Lily asked, approaching her neighbor with relief that the situation seemed under control. "Storm last night took down that old oak by your north fence," Mr. Grayson explained. "Smashed right through the fencing. Your sheep decided to go exploring this morning, but we got them all back safe and sound." "Thank you so much," Lily said, genuinely grateful. "You didn't have to do all this," Mr. Grayson waved off her thanks, "just being neighborly. Besides, I got a call from Logan Mitchell himself, asking me to keep an eye on your place while you were working for him. Said to send any bills for repairs directly to him." The old man gave her a knowing look. "Didn't realize you and Mitchell were so friendly." Lily felt her cheeks warm. "It's not like that. He's my employer, that's all." "If you say so," Mr. Grayson replied, clearly unconvinced. Still, not many bosses take such a personal interest in their employees' property. As Lily helped finish the fence repairs and checked on all her animals, she couldn't stop thinking about what Mr. Grayson had said. Why had Logan asked her neighbor to watch her place? And why hadn't he mentioned it to her? By the time she returned to Riverdale Ranch on Friday, these questions were still circling in her mind. She was in the tack room, cleaning a saddle after her session with Midnight, when a familiar voice startled her. "I heard there was some excitement at your place while I was gone." Lily turned to find Logan leaning against the doorframe, watching her with those intense eyes of his. He looked tired, as if his trip had been exhausting, but there was warmth in his expression as he looked at her. "A tree fell on my fence," Lily confirmed. "But thanks to Mr. Grayson, everything was taken care of before I even got there." She set down the saddle soap and faced him directly. "He mentioned that you called him, asked him to keep an eye on my place. Why would you do that?" Logan shrugged, moving into the room to stand closer to her. "I know how much your farm means to you. And I know you're stretched thin. Trying to manage it while working here 3 days a week, it seemed like the least I could do." "It's not your responsibility," Lily insisted, though she was touched by his thoughtfulness. "Maybe not," Logan agreed. "But I wanted to help. Is that so hard to believe?" Yes, Lily thought, but didn't say. In her experience, people rarely offered help without expecting something in return, especially people like Logan Mitchell, who measured everything in terms of profit and loss. "Thank you," she said instead. "I appreciate it." Logan nodded, accepting her thanks without pushing for more. "How's Rebel doing? Troy tells me he's accepting the saddle pad now." Lily allowed the change of subject, relieved to be back on professional ground. "Yes, and he's getting more comfortable with different people handling him. I've been having the stable hands give him treats, get him used to different voices and touches." They spent the next half hour discussing the horse's progress, walking from stall to stall, as Lily updated him on each animal. It was easy, comfortable conversation, the kind they'd had dozens of times before, but something had changed between them. Lily felt it in the way Logan stood just a little closer than necessary, in the way his eyes lingered on her face when she spoke, in the way he found small excuses to touch her, a hand at her elbow as they walked, fingers brushing as he handed her a horse's file. As they reached Midnight's stall, the stallion thrust his head over the door, nickering a greeting at both of them. "He looks good," Logan observed, stroking the horse's forehead. "Happy. He's enjoying the training. He's incredibly smart. Picks up new patterns instantly." Logan smiled, a genuine smile that transformed his normally serious face. "Like his trainer." Lily felt a flush of pleasure at the compliment. "I've been meaning to ask you what happened that day when Midnight disappeared during transport." Logan's smile faded, replaced by a frown. "We never got a clear answer." The transport team stopped for a quick break. The trailer was locked, but when they came back, the lock was broken and Midnight was gone. "No witnesses, no security cameras in that area." He shook his head. "I always suspected Harrington, but couldn't prove anything." "Why would he steal a horse he'd just bought?" Lily asked, confused. "I think he never intended to keep Midnight," Logan replied. "I think he bought him just to spite me, then planned to make it look like the horse was stolen so he could collect the insurance money while also depriving me of my best stallion. But something went wrong with his plan. Midnight escaped," Lily suggested. Logan nodded. "That's my guess. He's always been clever about getting out of enclosures when he wants to. Probably got away from whoever was holding him and just kept running until he found your place." "Lucky for me he did," Lily said softly. "Otherwise I wouldn't be here now." Their eyes met over Midnight's head, and that same electric tension Lily had felt at the party returned, stronger than before. For a moment, she thought Logan might kiss her properly this time, not just a friendly peck on the cheek, but the moment was broken by the sound of a truck pulling up outside, followed by Troy's voice calling for Logan. "I should go see what that's about," Logan said, reluctance clear in his tone. "Will you join me for dinner tonight at my house? There's something I'd like to discuss with you." Lily hesitated. Dinner at his house sounded dangerously like a date, despite his mention of business to discuss. "Is this about the horses?" A hint of a smile played at Logan's lips. "Partly. 7 o'clock?" Lily found herself nodding before she could overthink. "Say 7 it is." As she watched him walk away, Lily wondered what she was getting herself into. Dinner alone with Logan Mitchell at his house couldn't possibly be a good idea, not with these growing feelings she could no longer deny. But somehow, the prospect of saying no seemed even worse. Logan Mitchell was nervous. It was not a feeling he was accustomed to, especially not when it came to women. But as he instructed his housekeeper about the dinner arrangements for that evening, he felt an unfamiliar flutter of anxiety in his stomach. "Just set it up in the small dining room, Maria," he told the middle-aged woman who had managed his household for the past decade. "Nothing too formal. And that wine I brought back from Napa last month, the Cabernet?" Maria raised her eyebrows slightly but nodded. "Of course, Mr. Mitchell. Will there be anything else?" Logan hesitated. "Maybe some flowers for the table? Something simple, not too romantic." Now Maria's eyebrows shot up all the way. "Not romantic, sir? For the young lady who works with the horses?" Logan felt his face warm. "It's a business dinner, Maria?" "Of course it is, sir," she replied, not bothering to hide her knowing smile. "I'll keep it simple, just businesslike." After she left, Logan checked his watch. 4 hours until Lily would arrive. Plenty of time to review the proposal he wanted to discuss with her. A legitimate business proposition that justified this dinner invitation. He tried to focus on the documents spread across his desk, but his mind kept wandering to thoughts. Of Lily, the way she moved around nervous horses with such confidence, the flash in her eyes when she stood up to Victor Harrington, the soft curve of her cheek under his lips. "Focus, Mitchell," he muttered to himself. This was supposed to be about business, not his inconvenient attraction to a woman who was his complete opposite in almost every way. At exactly 7 o'clock, Lily's truck pulled up the long driveway to Logan's ranch house. She'd spent far too long deciding what to wear, finally settling on dark jeans, a soft blue blouse, and a simple pendant necklace that had belonged to her mother. Not too casual, not too dressy, appropriate for a business dinner, which was what Logan had implied this was. She parked beside his sleek black SUV and sat for a moment, gathering her courage. The house before her was intimidating, a sprawling, modern ranch home with large windows and a wraparound porch. Tasteful landscape. Lighting illuminated native plants and stone pathways. It was beautiful, but worlds away from her simple farmhouse with its peeling paint and sagging porch steps. "It's just dinner," she reminded herself as she climbed out of the truck. "To discuss business." Before she could reach the front door, it opened, and Logan stood waiting for her. He changed from his work clothes into dark slacks and a light blue button-down shirt that brought out the blue in his eyes. His smile sent a flutter through her stomach that had nothing to do with hunger. "Right on time," he said, holding the door wider. "Come in." Lily stepped into a spacious entryway with hardwood floors and Western-inspired artwork on the walls. The house was beautiful, but not ostentatious, comfortable luxury rather than flashy display. "Your home is lovely," she said honestly. "Thank you, it's too big for one person, but I like the space." Logan led her through to a small dining room where a table was set for two, with simple but elegant dinnerware and a small arrangement of wildflowers as a centerpiece. "I hope you like steak. Maria is finishing up in the kitchen." "Steak sounds perfect," Lily replied, accepting the glass of red wine he offered her. Their fingers brushed during the exchange, sending a small jolt through her that she tried to ignore. "Let's sit in the living room until dinner's ready," Logan suggested, gesturing toward a comfortable-looking seating area with a stunning view of the property through floor-to-ceiling windows. "I wanted to talk to you about a proposal I've been considering." Lily settled onto one end of a leather sofa, conscious of Logan sitting closer than strictly necessary. "What kind of proposal?" "It's about your animal rescue," Logan began, his expression serious. "You mentioned when we first met that it was struggling financially. I've been thinking about ways to help that would benefit both of us." Lily tensed. "Slightly. I'm not looking for charity, Logan. Not charity," he assured her quickly. "A partnership. Riverdale Ranch has a strong reputation in the equestrian community. We could organize a joint fundraising event, showcase some of your rescue success stories alongside our show horses. I have connections with wealthy donors who support animal causes, people who might become regular contributors to your rescue." Lily considered the idea, surprised by how thoughtful it was. "That actually sounds promising. But why would you do this? What's in it for Riverdale?" "Good publicity, tax benefits, community goodwill," Logan listed pragmatically. Then, his expression softening, he added, "And I've seen how much your rescue means to you." "The work you're doing there matters, Lily." Before she could respond, an older woman Lily assumed was Maria appeared in the doorway. "Dinner is served, Mr. Mitchell." "Thank you, Maria." Logan stood and offered Lily his hand to help her up, an unnecessary but gentlemanly gesture that she accepted, trying to ignore the warmth of his touch. Dinner was delicious. Perfectly cooked steaks, roasted vegetables, and homemade rolls that melted in Lily's mouth. The conversation flowed easily between them, moving from Logan's fundraising proposal to stories about difficult horses they'd trained over the years. Lily found herself relaxing, laughing at Logan's tales of his early mistakes as a young horse owner. "My father nearly had a heart attack when he found me trying to ride that half-wild Mustang with nothing but a piece of rope around his neck," Logan recalled with a self-deprecating smile. "I was 12 and thought I knew everything." "What happened?" Lily asked, genuinely curious about this glimpse into his past. "I ended up in a mud puddle, and my father made me clean every saddle in the barn for a month as punishment." Logan's expression grew thoughtful. "He was a good man, my father. Tough but fair. Everything I know about horses I learned from him." "You must miss him," Lily said softly, recognizing the same loss she felt when thinking about her own parents. Logan nodded, his eyes meeting hers across the table. "Every day. After he died, all I could think about was building the ranch into something that would have made him proud. Sometimes I wonder if I've lost sight of what would have actually mattered to him in the process." "What do you mean?" Logan hesitated, then shook his head slightly. "Nothing important. More wine?" As he refilled her glass, Lily sensed he'd been about to share something significant, but had pulled back. There were depths to Logan Mitchell that she was only beginning to glimpse. After dinner, they moved to the back porch with cups of coffee. The night was clear, with thousands of stars visible above the dark silhouettes of the distant mountains. They sat side by side on a comfortable porch swing, close enough that Lily could feel the warmth radiating from Logan's body in the cool evening air. "So what do you think about my proposal?" Logan asked after a comfortable silence. "For the fundraiser?" "I think it's a wonderful idea," Lily admitted. "But I'd want it to be a true partnership. I can't contribute financially, But I can offer my time and expertise, maybe demonstrations of rehabilitation techniques for rescued horses? Logan smiled, pleased by her enthusiasm. Perfect. And we could feature Rebel as a success story, show how far he's come under your training. They spent the next hour brainstorming ideas for the event, their excitement building as the plan took shape. Lily found herself noticing little things about Logan as they talked. The way his eyes crinkled at the corners when he truly smiled, how his hands moved expressively when he was passionate about an idea, the deep timbre of his laugh when she said something amusing. It was dangerous territory. The more time she spent with him, the harder it became to maintain the professional distance she'd promised herself she would keep. Eventually, the conversation circled back to her rescue operation and the challenges she faced. The biggest issue is medical costs, Lily explained. Last month, one of the rescue horses needed emergency colic surgery. It wiped out most of our donation reserves. Logan frowned sympathetically. What about grants? There are foundations that support animal welfare organizations. I've applied for a few, but the paperwork is overwhelming and I never seem to have enough time to do it properly. Lily sighed. Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning, trying to keep both the farm and the rescue afloat. You don't have to do it all alone, you know, Logan said quietly, his eyes intent on her face. There are people who would help if you'd let them. People like you, Lily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Yes, Logan admitted. People like me. The air between them seemed to thicken with unspoken emotions. Logan's gaze dropped to her lips for just a moment before returning to her eyes, questioning. Lily knew she should pull away, maintain that professional boundary, but she found herself leaning slightly closer instead. The shrill ring of a phone shattered the moment. Logan closed his eyes briefly in frustration before reaching for his cell phone on the table beside them. I'm sorry, I have to take this, he said, after checking the caller ID. It's my manager in Kentucky, probably about the breeding arrangement. I was there to negotiate. Lily nodded, both disappointed and relieved by the interruption. As Logan walked a few steps away to take the call, she tried to gather her scattered thoughts. What was she doing? Getting romantically involved with her employer was a complication she didn't need in her already challenging life. And yet, the connection she felt with Logan seemed to grow stronger each time they were together. It wasn't just physical attraction, though that was certainly part of it. There was a deeper understanding developing between them, a recognition of shared values beneath their obvious differences. Logan returned a few minutes later, his expression apologetic. I'm sorry about that. Where were we? Actually, I should probably be going, Lily said, standing up. It's getting late, and I have an early start tomorrow with the animals at my place. Disappointment flashed across Logan's face, but he nodded. Of course. Let me walk you to your truck. The night air had grown cooler, and Lily shivered slightly as they walked down the path to the driveway. Without a word, Logan removed his light jacket and draped it over her shoulders. The gesture was so simple, so thoughtful, that Lily felt her resolve weakening again. When they reached her truck, she turned to thank him for dinner, but the words died in her throat at the intensity of his gaze. Lily, Logan said softly, I want to be honest with you. Tonight wasn't just about business for me. I know, she admitted, her heart beating faster. I'm not good at this, he continued, running a hand through his hair in a rare display of nervousness. My relationships usually follow a simple pattern, enjoyable but temporary, with clear expectations on both sides. But with you... He trailed off, searching for words. With me? Lily prompted, hardly daring to breathe. With you, nothing follows the pattern. You challenge everything I thought I knew about what I want. Logan stepped closer, close enough that she could feel the warmth of his breath. I know this is complicated. I'm your employer. We come from different worlds, but I can't stop thinking about you. Before Lily could respond, Logan's phone rang again. He ignored it this time, his eyes never leaving her face. You should get that, Lily said gently. It might be important. This is important, Logan countered, but the persistent ringing was an unwelcome reminder of the real world intruding on their moment. Lily took a small step back, creating space between them. It's okay, we both have responsibilities that can't wait. With visible reluctance, Logan pulled out his phone and silenced it. "We're not done with this conversation, Lily. There's more I want to say to you." "Another time," she suggested, opening her truck door. "Thank you for dinner and for the fundraiser idea. I really do think it could help the rescue." Logan nodded, accepting her retreat for now. "I'll have Deborah contact you about setting up a planning meeting." As Lily drove away, she could see him in her rearview mirror, standing in the driveway watching her leave. She gripped the steering wheel tightly, trying to sort through her conflicted feelings. Logan Mitchell was everything she'd told herself to avoid: wealthy, powerful, accustomed to getting what he wanted. Her past experiences with men like him had taught her painful lessons about the imbalance of power in such relationships. And yet, there was an authenticity to his interest in her that didn't fit the pattern. The way he'd spoken about his father, his genuine enthusiasm for helping her rescue, the vulnerability in his eyes when he'd admitted his feelings, none of that aligned with the calculating businessman she'd expected him to be. By the time she arrived home, Lily had made no decisions, except one: she needed to be careful with her heart. Whatever was happening between her and Logan, it was more complicated than a simple attraction, and the potential for pain was significant. The next morning, Lily was mucking out stalls in her barn when a sleek black car pulled into her driveway. She set down her pitchfork and walked outside, surprised to see Victor Harrington stepping out of the vehicle. "Mr. Harrington," she greeted him warily. "What brings you here?" Victor smiled, though the expression didn't reach his eyes. "Ms. Parker, I hope I'm not interrupting your work." "I'm in the middle of chores," Lily replied, not bothering to hide her suspicion. "What can I do for you?" "I wanted to apologize for my behavior at Mitchell's charity event," Victor said smoothly. "My comments about midnight were inappropriate. I hope you can forgive my rudeness." Lily crossed her arms, unconvinced by this sudden show of contrition. "That's unexpected. Thank you for the apology." "I also wanted to make you a business proposition," Victor continued, glancing around her modest farm with barely concealed disdain. "I understand you're quite talented with difficult horses." "I work with traumatized horses, yes," Lily corrected, not liking where this was going. "I recently acquired a valuable mare with behavioral issues. None of my trainers have been able to make progress with her." "I'd like to hire you as a consultant." Lily raised her eyebrows in surprise. "I'm already working for Riverdale Ranch 3 days a week." "I'm aware," Victor said with a thin smile. "But surely you could spare a day or two for other clients." "I'm prepared to pay triple whatever Mitchell is offering you." The offer was tempting, financially at least. That kind of money would solve many of her problems. But something about the way Victor was watching her, like a predator assessing its prey, made her deeply uncomfortable. "Why me specifically?" Lily asked. "There are other trainers with more credentials. Let's just say I've heard impressive things about your methods." Victor's tone became silky. "Besides, I'd enjoy the opportunity to get to know you better. I think we could have a mutually beneficial relationship." The implication in his words made Lily's skin crawl. "I'm afraid I'll have to decline, Mr. Harrington. My schedule is already full." Victor's pleasant facade slipped, revealing a flash of the anger beneath. "Is that your final answer? Or perhaps you should discuss it with Mitchell first. I understand you two have become real close." "My professional decisions are my own," Lily replied firmly. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get back to work." Victor studied her for a moment longer, then reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a business card. "In case you reconsider, my offer stands triple whatever he's paying you, plus other benefits." Lily didn't take the card, so Victor set it on the fence post beside them. "Think about it, Ms. Parker. Everyone has a price, even you." As he drove away, Lily felt a chill that had nothing to do with the morning air. Victor Harrington was clearly used to getting what he wanted, and she had just refused him. Somehow she doubted he would accept her rejection gracefully. With a sigh, she picked up the business card, intending to throw it away, but then hesitated. Something about this interaction felt wrong, like Victor had an agenda beyond simply hiring a horse trainer. She slipped the card into her pocket, deciding to mention it to Logan when she saw him next. Monday morning found Lily back at Riverdale Ranch, her mind still troubled by Victor Harrington's visit. She hadn't been able to reach Logan over the weekend. Deborah had informed her he was tied up with business meetings, so she'd had no chance to tell him about the strange encounter. She was in the round pen with Rebel, working on getting him comfortable with a lightweight saddle, when she heard the distinctive sound of Logan's truck approaching. Her heart quickened its pace, remembering their almost kiss on Friday night and the unfinished conversation that had followed. Logan appeared at the fence, watching her work with an expression of admiration. "He's really coming along," he observed, nodding toward Rebel, who was standing calmly as Lily adjusted the saddle on his back. "Small steps every day," Lily agreed, giving the gelding a reassuring pat before exiting the round pen to join Logan. "How were your meetings?" "Productive but exhausting," Logan replied. His eyes searched her face, and Lily knew he was thinking about their interrupted moment just as she was. "I wanted to apologize for Friday night. The timing of those calls was unfortunate." "No need to apologize," Lily said quickly. "Business comes first, I understand that." A shadow of disappointment crossed Logan's face at her professional tone, but he nodded. "Speaking of business, Deborah has set up a meeting for Wednesday afternoon to discuss the fundraiser for your rescue. Does that work for you?" "That's perfect," Lily said, relieved to be on safer conversational ground. Then, remembering her visitor from the weekend, she added, "Actually, there's something I need to tell you. Victor Harrington came to my farm on Saturday." Logan's expression immediately darkened. "What did he want?" Lily explained Victor's unexpected visit and job offer, watching Logan's face grow increasingly stormy as she spoke. "He seemed very insistent, and there was something off about the whole thing. When I refused, he implied that I should check with you first, like I needed your permission." "That snake," Logan muttered. "This isn't about hiring you as a trainer. This is about getting at me." "What do you mean?" Logan sighed, leaning against the fence post. "Victor and I have a complicated history. His family has been trying to buy portions of Riverdale Ranch for years, specifically the sections that control access to the county's main water supply. My father refused to sell to them, and I've maintained that position. It's made Victor resentful. So offering me a job was what, some kind of power play?" Lily asked, confused. "Partly that, and partly—" Logan hesitated, then met her eyes directly. "People have noticed that you're important to me, Lily. Victor is the type to exploit any perceived weakness." The implication that she might be Logan's weakness sent a complicated mix of emotions through Lily. Tenderness mingled with anxiety. "You think he was trying to hire me away from you to prove a point?" "That would be consistent with his usual tactics," Logan confirmed grimly. "Did he leave any contact information?" Lily pulled Victor's business card from her pocket and handed it to Logan. He said his offer would remain open. Logan looked at the card, then tore it in half and shoved the pieces into his own pocket. "I'd appreciate it if you'd let me know if he contacts you again. Victor can be persistent when he wants something." "Of course," Lily agreed, feeling a flutter of unease at the obvious tension between the two men. "Should I be worried?" Logan's expression softened as he looked at her. "No. Victor is unpleasant, but he's not dangerous, and I won't let him bother you." The protective note in his voice was both comforting and slightly alarming. Lily was unused to having someone else fight her battles. "I can handle Victor Harrington," she assured him. "I just thought you should know about his visit." "Thank you for telling me." Logan checked his watch regretfully. "I have a conference call starting in 10 minutes. Will you be here for lunch? We could continue our conversation from Friday." Part of Lily wanted nothing more than to pick up where they'd left off, to explore whatever was developing between them. But the other part, the cautious, self-protective part, warned her to maintain her distance at least until she was clearer about her own feelings. "Actually, I packed a lunch today," she said, feeling a twinge of guilt at the disappointment that flashed across Logan's face. "And I wanted to work through midnight's session without a break." "Of course," Logan said, his business mask sliding back into place so smoothly that Lily almost doubted she'd seen the emotion beneath it. "Another time, then." As he walked away toward his office, Lily returned to Rebel, trying to refocus on her work. But her mind kept drifting back to the conversation they'd just had. and the one from Friday night that remained unfinished. Logan Mitchell was becoming important to her in ways that went beyond their professional relationship. The question was whether she was brave enough to explore those feelings, knowing all the complications they would bring. For the next 2 weeks, Lily maintained a careful professional distance from Logan. She attended the fundraiser, planning meeting, contributed ideas and worked with the horses as usual. But she made excuses to avoid being alone with him, to sidestep the conversation they both knew was inevitable. Logan didn't push, respecting her unspoken request for space, but Lily often caught him watching her with an intensity that made her heart race. The attraction between them hadn't diminished. With time, if anything, it had grown stronger through their shared work and mutual respect. It was Troy, surprisingly, who finally commented on the obvious tension. "You two need to sort yourselves out," the older man said bluntly, as he helped Lily clean tack one rainy afternoon. "All this tiptoeing around each other is making everyone uncomfortable." Lily felt her cheeks warm. "I don't know what you're talking about." Troy snorted. "Sure you don't. Look, I've worked for Mr. Mitchell for 8 years. Never seen him like this over a woman before. Whatever's going on between you two, you should figure it out one way or the other." Before Lily could respond, Troy picked up his saddle soap and walked away, leaving her to ponder his words. Was she being unfair to Logan by avoiding the conversation? Or was she merely being prudent, protecting herself from potential heartbreak? The opportunity to resolve the situation came sooner than expected. That same evening, as Lily was preparing to leave for the day, a severe thunderstorm rolled in. Lightning flashed across the darkening sky, followed almost immediately by a deafening crack of thunder that sent the horses in the stable into a nervous frenzy. "Better wait it out," Troy advised, as hail began to pelt the roof of the stable. "This looks like it could be a bad one." Lily nodded her agreement, moving to check on Rebel, who was particularly sensitive to storms. The gelding was pacing anxiously in his stall, eyes wide with fear. "It's okay, buddy," she soothed, entering the stall to stand beside him. "Just a lot of noise, that's all." Another crack of thunder shook the building, and Rebel reared up in panic. Lily stepped back to avoid his flailing hooves, but her foot caught on a raised floorboard. She fell backward, hitting her head against the stall door with a painful thud. For a moment, everything went dark. When her vision cleared, she was sitting on the stall floor and Logan was kneeling beside her, his face tight with concern. "Lily, are you all right?" His hands gently cradled her face, tilting it to examine her eyes. "Troy called me when you fell. Do you know where you are? What day is it?" "I'm fine," Lily insisted, though her head was throbbing. "Just got the wind knocked out of me. It's Monday, I'm at Riverdale Ranch, and you're asking me concussion screening questions." Relief flooded Logan's expression. "Can you stand? We should..." "So I get some ice on that bump." With his help, Lily got to her feet, feeling only slightly dizzy. Logan kept a steadying arm around her waist as they walked through the stable toward the main house, passing Troy, who was now calming Rebel. "Really, I'm okay," Lily protested, as Logan guided her up the porch steps of his home. "I should just go home and rest. You're not driving anywhere in this storm, especially not with a possible concussion," Logan stated firmly. "Maria will make up a guest room for you, and I want to get some ice on that head." Too dizzy to argue effectively, Lily allowed herself to be led into the house. Logan steered her to the comfortable sofa in his living room, then disappeared briefly, returning with an ice pack wrapped in a towel. "Here," he said, gently pressing it against the back of her head. "Hold this in place. I'll get you some water and painkillers." As Logan moved around taking care of her, Lily watched him with new eyes. This side of him, gentle, concerned, attentive to her comfort, was at odds with his reputation as a hard-nosed businessman. He was revealing more and more layers of himself to her, and each one made it harder to maintain her emotional distance. "Thank you," she said when he returned with water and pills. "You don't have to fuss over me like this." Logan sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. "I know I don't have to, I want to." His eyes met hers, serious and intent. "Lily, we need to talk about what's happening between us. You've been avoiding me for 2 weeks. Lily sighed, realizing there was no more putting off this conversation. I know, I'm sorry, I just needed time to think. And have you? Thought about it? Logan's voice was carefully neutral, but Lily could sense the tension underneath. Yes, she admitted. Too much, probably. Outside, the storm continued to rage, rain lashing against the windows and thunder rumbling in the distance. Inside, a different kind of storm was brewing between them, one that had been building for weeks. "And what conclusion did you reach?" Logan asked quietly. Lily took a deep breath, setting the ice pack aside. "That I'm scared, Logan. Not just of what might happen between us, but of what it could cost me." "What do you mean?" "I've worked so hard to build my life on my own terms," Lily explained, her voice steady despite the emotions churning inside her. "My farm, my rescue, they're everything to me. Getting involved with you could jeopardize all of that." "How?" Logan asked, genuinely confused. "I would never ask you to give up what matters to you." "Not intentionally, maybe," Lily conceded. "But relationships between people from such different worlds rarely end well, and when they end, it's usually the person with less power who loses the most." She met his eyes directly. "I can't afford to lose my job here if things go sour between us personally. I need this income to save my farm." Understanding dawned in Logan's expression. "You're worried about the power imbalance between us, employer and employee." "Among other things," Lily admitted. "You live in a world of wealth and influence, Logan. I live paycheck to paycheck, trying to keep a leaking roof over my head and food in my rescue animals' bowls. Those differences matter." Logan was quiet for a moment, considering her words. Then he reached out and took her hand, his touch warm and reassuring. "First of all," he said, his tone serious, "your job here is secure regardless of our personal relationship. You're the best trainer I've ever worked with, and I'm not foolish enough to let personal feelings interfere with that professional value." Lily nodded, wanting to believe him but still uncertain. "Second," Logan continued, "yes, we come from different worlds, but in the ways that truly matter, our values, our commitment to the animals we care for, our desire to build something meaningful, we're not so different." His fingers tightened around hers as he leaned closer. "Lily, I've never met anyone like you. Someone who sees beyond the money and status to the person underneath. Someone who challenges me to be better. Someone who makes me question everything I thought I knew about what I want in life." The raw honesty in his voice made Lily's heart constrict. "Logan, I'm not asking for promises," he assured her quickly. "Just a chance to see where this might lead, without either of us holding back out of fear." As Lily looked into his eyes, she saw vulnerability there that matched her own. Logan Mitchell, for all his wealth and power, was taking just as much of a risk opening his heart to her as she was to him. "What exactly are you proposing?" she asked softly. A smile tugged at the corner of Logan's mouth. "How about we start with dinner? A real date, not a business meeting disguised as one." Despite her anxiety, Lily felt herself smiling back. "I think I could manage that." "And we take it one day at a time," Logan added, his thumb tracing gentle circles on the back of her hand. "No pressure, no expectations beyond seeing where this connection between us leads." The sincerity in his eyes was her undoing. Whatever fears she still harbored, the possibility of something real with Logan seemed worth the risk. "Okay," she whispered. Relief and joy transformed Logan's face. He leaned forward slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away. But this time, Lily didn't retreat. When his lips met hers, gentle and questioning, she answered with a kiss of her own, her free hand coming up to rest against his chest. The kiss deepened, becoming a wordless conversation about all the feelings they'd been keeping in check for weeks. Logan's hand cradled her face with a tenderness that made her heart ache, while Lily's fingers curled into the fabric of his shirt, anchoring herself to this unexpected moment of connection. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, Logan pressed his forehead against hers. "I've been wanting to do that since the night you brought Midnight back," he admitted with a rueful smile. Lily laughed softly. "And I've been trying very hard not to think about doing it since about the same time." Outside, the storm was beginning to abate, the thunder now a distant rumble. Inside, something new and fragile had taken root between them, something that might, with care and courage, grow into something beautiful and lasting. Your head, Logan remembered suddenly, pulling back to look at her with concern. How is it feeling? Do you need more ice? The fact that his first thought was for her comfort, rather than continuing their kiss, only confirmed for Lily that she'd made the right decision in opening her heart to this possibility. It's better, she assured him, though I still think I shouldn't drive tonight. Logan smiled, understanding the invitation in her words. The guest room will be ready whenever you want it. But until then, he drew her closer again, his eyes warm with promise. We have a lot of lost time to make up for. As Lily allowed herself to be pulled back into his embrace, she silently acknowledged that some risks were worth taking, and Logan Mitchell might just be the biggest, most worthwhile risk she'd ever encountered. The next morning, Lily woke in an unfamiliar bed, momentarily disoriented by the luxurious surroundings. Sunlight streamed through gauzy curtains, illuminating a beautifully appointed guest room that was larger than her entire upstairs at home. Memories of the previous evening flooded back: the storm, her fall, the heartfelt conversation with Logan, and those kisses that had finally broken through the walls she'd built around her heart. They had talked for hours after that first kiss, sharing stories about their families, their dreams, their fears. It had been well past midnight when Maria had shown her to this room, with Logan's gentle goodnight kiss still tingling on her lips. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Lily, are you awake?" Logan's voice called softly from the hallway. "Yes." "Come in," she replied, sitting up and smoothing her hair self-consciously. She was still wearing her clothes from yesterday, having declined Maria's offer of a nightgown. Logan entered with a tray bearing coffee, fruit, and toast. "I thought you might be hungry," he said, setting the tray on the bedside table. "How's your head this morning?" "Much better," Lily assured him, touched by the thoughtful gesture, "though I probably look a mess." Logan sat on the edge of the bed, his eyes warm as they took in her rumpled appearance. "You look beautiful," he said, simply leaning in to press a light kiss to her forehead. "Any regrets about last night?" "No," Lily answered honestly. "You?" "Only that it took us so long to get here," Logan replied with a smile that made her heart skip a beat. "I have meetings in town this morning, but I wanted to see you before I left. Will you be here when I get back?" Lily shook her head regretfully. "I need to get home to check on my animals. They'll be wondering where I am." Disappointment flashed across Logan's face, but he nodded in understanding. "Of course, I sometimes forget that you have your own operation to run." He took her hand, his expression turning serious. "Lily, I meant what I said last night. Whatever happens between us, personally, your position here is secure. I don't want you to ever worry about that." "Thank you," Lily said, genuinely relieved by his reassurance. "That means a lot to me." After a lingering goodbye kiss, Logan left for his meetings, and Lily took her time enjoying the breakfast he'd brought. Everything felt different this morning, brighter, more hopeful. She knew there would be challenges ahead. Their worlds were still very different, and navigating a personal relationship alongside their professional one would require care and communication. The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity for Lily. Between her regular training sessions at Riverdale Ranch, caring for her own farm and rescue animals, and planning the upcoming fundraiser with Logan, there was barely a moment to breathe. But despite the hectic schedule, Lily couldn't remember when she'd last felt so happy. Her relationship with Logan was blossoming, carefully balanced between their professional work together and the growing personal connection they shared. They'd settled into a comfortable routine, working side by side during the day, occasionally stealing private moments between tasks, and spending evenings together whenever their schedules allowed. Logan had surprised Lily with his willingness to adapt to her simpler lifestyle. He seemed genuinely content sitting on her worn porch swing after a shared meal in her modest kitchen, talking about their day as the sun set over her small farm. She'd worried he might find her home too plain after the luxury he was accustomed to, but he'd confessed that he felt more relaxed there than in his own perfectly appointed house. "There's a warmth here," he'd told her one evening as they sat before the fireplace in her living room, his arm around her shoulders. Your home feels lived in, loved. Mine is beautiful, but sometimes feels more like a showpiece than a home. Those quiet moments together were precious to Lily, but equally meaningful were the times when Logan rolled up his sleeves to help with practical tasks around her farm. He'd shown up one Saturday morning in work clothes and boots, determined to help repair her leaking barn roof. By evening, they were both dirty and exhausted, but the job was done, and Logan's satisfied smile as he surveyed their work had warmed Lily's heart more than any expensive gift could have. Of course, not everything was perfect. Occasional misunderstandings arose from their different backgrounds and perspectives. Logan sometimes made assumptions about what Lily needed or wanted without consulting her first, like when he'd ordered expensive new equipment for her rescue operation, only to be met with her insistence that the old equipment was perfectly functional and the money could be better spent elsewhere. "I'm not a charity case, Logan," she'd reminded him firmly. "I appreciate your generosity, but I need to be part of these decisions." To his credit, Logan had listened and apologized. "You're right. I'm used to solving problems with money, but I should have discussed it with you first. I just want to make things easier for you." "I know," Lily had replied, softening, "and I love that about you. But partnership means working together, not one person making all the decisions." It was a learning process for both of them, this delicate balance between independence and interdependence. But with each small conflict resolved, their bond grew stronger. The morning of the big fundraiser dawned, clear and mild, perfect weather for the outdoor event they'd planned. Lily arrived at Riverdale Ranch early, her truck loaded with display materials about her rescue operation and several of her success stories. Rescued animals who were now healthy and thriving under her care. The ranch had been transformed for the occasion. A large tent had been erected near the main training arena, with elegant tables set up for the luncheon that would follow the demonstrations. Displays showcasing both Riverdale's prized horses and Lily's rescue animals lined the pathways with professional photographs and informational placards telling each animal's story. Lily felt a flutter of nerves as she watched the staff making final preparations. This was by far the largest event she'd ever been involved with, and the guest list included some of the wealthiest and most influential people in the equestrian community. Logan had assured her that many of them were genuine animal lovers who would be moved by the rescue stories, but she couldn't help worrying that her humble operation would seem insignificant next to Riverdale's polished professionalism. "Stop second-guessing yourself," Logan said, appearing beside her as if he'd read her thoughts. He looked handsome in dark slacks and a crisp blue shirt, his hair slightly tousled by the morning breeze. "Everything looks perfect, and the guests are going to love what you've put together." Lily smiled, drawing strength from his confidence. "I hope so. I just want to do right by these animals. They deserve all the support they can get." Logan wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her close for a quick kiss. "And they will get it, thanks to you. Now let's get your display set up before the guests start arriving." For the next hour, they worked together, setting up Lily's rescue exhibit. By the time the first guests began to arrive, everything was in place, and Lily had changed into the simple but elegant sundress she'd bought for the occasion, a soft green that brought out the color of her eyes. "You look beautiful," Logan murmured as they prepared to greet the arrivals. "Are you ready for this?" Lily took a deep breath and nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be." The event unfolded better than either of them could have hoped. The horse demonstrations were met with enthusiastic applause, especially when Troy led Rebel into the ring to show how far the once traumatized gelding had come under Lily's patient training. The horse performed flawlessly, responding to subtle cues with a calm confidence that seemed miraculous compared to his state a few months earlier. During the luncheon, Lily found herself seated between Logan and an elderly woman introduced as Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore, one of the region's most generous philanthropists. "Logan tells me you work wonders with troubled horses, my dear," Mrs. Whitmore said, her sharp eyes assessing Lily with interest. "I've always believed that animals respond to truth in a person's heart. They know who they can trust." "I agree," Lily replied, warming to the older woman immediately. "Most of the animals at my rescue have been abused or neglected. They need patience and consistency more than anything else, and a safe place to heal." Mrs. Whitmore added knowingly. "Something we all need at some point in our lives." The conversation flowed easily from there, with Mrs. Whitmore asking thoughtful questions about Lily's methods and sharing stories of her own experiences with rescued animals. By the time dessert was served, the older woman had promised to visit Lily's rescue the following week, to see for myself what needs doing. Throughout the luncheon, Lily was aware of Logan watching her with pride as she connected with the guests, speaking passionately about her work. When she glanced his way, she found him smiling at her with such open admiration that her heart swelled with emotion. After lunch, the guests were invited to view the rescue exhibits and meet some of the animals in person. Lily moved from group to group, answering questions and sharing stories, while Logan did the same with potential donors interested in Riverdale's breeding program. It was during one of these conversations that Lily spotted Victor and Victoria Harrington among the guests. She hadn't expected them to attend, given the tension between Victor and Logan, but apparently social obligations had trumped personal animosity. Victor caught her eye across the tent and raised his champagne glass in a mocking toast. Lily nodded politely but kept her distance, remembering Logan's warning about the man's duplicitous nature. As the afternoon progressed, donations began to flow in, both for Riverdale's 4-H sponsorship program and for Lily's rescue. Logan had arranged for a large display board to track the totals, and Lily's heart soared as she watched the number for her rescue climbing steadily higher. By mid-afternoon, they had already surpassed her most optimistic projections. "I think we can call this a success," Logan said when he finally managed to join her for a moment between conversations. "Mrs. Whitmore just wrote a check that will cover your operating costs for the next 6 months." Lily's eyes widened in disbelief. "Are you serious? That's incredible." "You impressed her," Logan said, squeezing her hand proudly. "She doesn't give money easily, but she believes in you and your work." "I don't know what to say," Lily admitted, feeling overwhelmed by the generosity of these people who had been strangers just hours ago. "Say you'll celebrate with me tonight," Logan suggested, his voice dropping to a more intimate tone. "After everyone leaves, just the two of us." The look in his eyes made Lily's pulse quicken. "I'd love that," she replied softly. Their moment was interrupted by Troy, who approached with an apologetic expression. "Sorry to bother you, boss, but one of the donors wants to discuss a potential breeding arrangement for next spring." Logan nodded, giving Lily's hand a final squeeze before following Troy. "Duty calls, I'll find you later." Left alone for the first time since the event began, Lily took the opportunity to step outside the tent for a breath of fresh air. The afternoon sun was warm on her face as she walked a short distance away, taking in the beauty of Riverdale Ranch. With its rolling pastures and elegant buildings, "Quite a success, isn't it?" said a voice behind her, startling Lily from her thoughts. She turned to find Victor Harrington standing there, champagne glass still in hand, and an unsettling smile on his face. "Yes, it is," Lily replied cautiously. "The generosity has been overwhelming." "People in our circle can be very generous when it suits them," Victor agreed, moving to stand beside her, too close for comfort. "Of course, they expect certain things in return." Lily took a small step away, maintaining a polite expression. "I think most of them simply care about the animals." Victor laughed, the sound lacking any real warmth. "Oh, my dear Miss Parker, so refreshingly naive. No wonder Mitchell finds you entertaining." The way he said the word made Lily's skin crawl. "If you'll excuse me, Mr. Harrington, I should get back to the guests." As she turned to leave, Victor placed a hand on her arm, stopping her. "Before you go, I wanted to renew my offer of employment. My mare still needs training, and my offer still stands. Triple whatever Mitchell is paying you." "As I told you before, I'm not interested," Lily replied firmly, removing her arm from his grasp. Victor's expression hardened. "You know, it's unusual for Mitchell to get so personally involved with an employee. Makes one wonder what special qualities you possess." The implication was clear, and Lily felt a surge of anger replace her discomfort. "Mr. Harrington, whatever relationship exists between Logan and me is none of your business. And I'd appreciate it if you'd stop insinuating that it's anything but honest and genuine." "Honest? Genuine?" Victor repeated with mock surprise. Those aren't words typically associated with Logan Mitchell's romantic entanglements. Perhaps you don't know him as well as you think you do. Before Lily could respond, another voice joined the conversation. I think Ms. Parker knows me quite well, Harrington, Logan said coldly, stepping up beside Lily. And she certainly knows enough about you to see through whatever game you're playing. Victor's smile turned calculating as he looked between them. No game, Mitchell. Just a friendly conversation with a talented horse trainer who happens to face close to you. The event is winding down, Logan replied, his tone making it clear the conversation was over. I believe your wife is looking for you near the dessert table. With a final measuring look at both of them, Victor inclined his head slightly. I'll leave you to it then. Miss Parker, do consider my offer. It remains open. With that, he strolled away, apparently unruffled by the confrontation. What was that about? Logan asked once Victor was out of earshot, concern evident in his expression. He was renewing his job offer, Lily explained, still unsettled by the exchange, and making insinuations about our relationship. Logan's jaw tightened. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Victor specializes in making people uncomfortable. It's one of his many talents. He seemed to be implying that your interest in me isn't serious, Lily said hesitantly, hating that Victor's words had planted a seed of doubt in her mind. That I'm just another in a line of romantic entanglements. Logan's expression softened as he turned to face her fully. And do you believe that? Lily studied his face, the genuine emotion visible in his eyes. No, she said with certainty. I don't. Relief washed over Logan's features. Good, because it's not true. What I feel for you, Lily, it's unlike anything I've ever experienced before. His words warmed her heart, dispelling the chill that Victor's insinuations had left. I feel the same way, she admitted softly. Logan leaned down to press a gentle kiss to her lips, unconcerned about who might see them. Let's finish up with the guests, he suggested as he pulled away. I have something important to discuss with you later. The remainder of the event passed in a blur of goodbyes and thank yous as the guests gradually departed. By the time the last car pulled away down the driveway, the afternoon was fading into evening, and Lily was exhausted but exhilarated by the day's success. The final donation total for your rescue is just over $60,000, Logan announced as they stood watching the catering staff dismantle the tent, plus pledges of regular monthly support from at least a dozen donors. Lily felt tears spring to her eyes at the news. I can't believe it, she whispered. Do you know what this means? I can finally get the surgery done for old Max, and proper fencing for the north pasture, and maybe even hire some part-time help. Logan wrapped his arms around her, holding her close as the emotions overwhelmed her. You've earned this, Lily. These people saw what I've seen from the beginning, your incredible heart and dedication. When she'd composed herself, Logan took her hand. Come with me, I have something to show you. He led her toward his truck and they drove away from the main house, following a winding dirt road that Lily hadn't explored before. After about 10 minutes, they crested a small hill, and Logan stopped the truck. Below them stretched a beautiful vista, a small valley tucked within the boundaries of Riverdale Ranch, complete with a modest house, barn, and several fenced pastures. A small stream wound through the property, and mature trees provided shade around the buildings. What is this place? Lily asked, taking in the picturesque scene. It used to be the original homestead when my grandfather first bought this land, Logan explained. No one's lived here for years, but the buildings are still sound. It just needs some updating. Lily could see the potential immediately. The peaceful setting was ideal for horses, with plenty of space and natural resources. It's beautiful. Are you planning to develop it? Logan turned in his seat to face her, his expression suddenly serious. That depends on you. On me, Lily repeated, confused. What do you mean? Logan took a deep breath as if gathering his courage. Lily, these past months with you have changed everything for me. Before you came into my life, I was focused entirely on business, on building wealth and status and control. I thought those things would bring fulfillment, would make my father proud. He reached for her hand, holding it between both of his. But you've shown me what truly matters. Connection, compassion, purpose beyond profit. You've made me a better man, Lily Parker. Lily felt tears threatening again at the emotion in his voice. "Logan." "Let me finish," he said gently. "I know we come from different worlds. I know you value your independence and the legacy your parents left you. I would never ask you to give that up." He gestured toward the valley below them. "This property is about 50 acres with good water rights and excellent grazing. I'd like to offer it to you as a new location for your rescue operation, not as a gift," he added quickly, seeing the protest forming on her lips. "As a partnership. We could develop it together, create a real sanctuary with proper facilities, your expertise, my resources." Lily was stunned by the proposal. "I don't know what to say. It's an incredible opportunity for the rescue, but you're worried about what it means for us personally," Logan finished for her. "About whether accepting this would create an imbalance between us." Lily nodded, grateful for his understanding. "Exactly. I love what we have, Logan. I don't want to complicate it with business entanglements." "I thought you might feel that way," Logan said with a smile, "which is why I have a second proposal." He shifted in his seat, reaching into his pocket to pull out a small velvet box. Lily's heart stopped as she realized what was happening. "Lily Parker," Logan said, his voice steady despite the vulnerability in his eyes. "I'm in love with you. Completely, irrevocably in love with you. You've changed my life in ways I never thought possible, and I can't imagine my future without you in it." He opened the box to reveal a simple but elegant ring, a single diamond set in white gold, beautiful but not ostentatious. "Will you marry me? Not for the property or the rescue or any practical reason, but simply because I want to spend the rest of my life loving you." Tears spilled down Lily's cheeks as the sincerity of his proposal washed over her. This wasn't the calculating businessman speaking, but the man who had slowly, steadily opened his heart to her over the past months. The man who understood her values, respected her independence, and loved her exactly as she was. "Yes," she whispered, her voice catching on the word. "Yes, I'll marry you, Logan Mitchell." Joy transformed his face as he slipped the ring onto her finger, then pulled her into a kiss that held all the promise of their future together. When they finally broke apart, both breathless and smiling, Logan rested his forehead against hers. "So about that property," he began teasingly. Lily laughed, feeling lighter than she had in years. "Let's talk about it. As partners." "Partners," Logan agreed, kissing her again, in every sense of the word. As they sat together looking out over the valley that held such possibilities, Lily marveled at the journey that had brought them to this moment. From a chance encounter with a lost horse to a love that had overcome barriers of wealth, status, and their own fears, it was a story she never could have imagined for herself. "What are you thinking?" Logan asked, his arm around her shoulders. "That. Sometimes the right person comes into your life when you least expect it," Lily replied honestly. "And that I'm incredibly lucky that Midnight found his way to my farm that day." Logan smiled, his eyes filled with love. "I think I'm the lucky one. And Midnight? He's the smartest horse I've ever owned, finding his way to the one person who could not only bring him home but change my life in the process." As the sun began to set over Riverdale Ranch, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Lily leaned her head against Logan's shoulder, content in the knowledge that their story was just beginning. There would be challenges ahead, merging their lives, building their shared vision for the rescue, navigating the social complexities of their different backgrounds, but facing those challenges together, as equal partners with a foundation of mutual respect and love, made the future seem full of promise rather than uncertainty. 6 months later, on a perfect spring day, Lily stood in the freshly renovated farmhouse in the valley, watching through the window as guests began to arrive for their wedding. The house had been transformed over the winter months, updated with modern conveniences while preserving its rustic charm. The barn and outbuildings had been similarly renovated, now housing the expanded rescue operation that was already gaining a reputation as one of the finest equine rehabilitation centers in the state. Lily's original farmhouse had been kept as, well, now serving as a welcome center and educational facility for school groups and prospective adopters. The two properties, her family's legacy and the new sanctuary, complemented each other perfectly, just as she and Logan had discovered their different strengths and perspectives did. "Almost time," said a voice behind her. Lily turned to see Mrs. Whitmore, who had become a dear friend and mentor over the past months. The elderly woman had taken Lily under her wing, helping her navigate the social circles she now found herself part of as Logan's fiancée, while never letting her lose sight of her own values and goals. "Are you nervous?" Mrs. Whitmore asked, adjusting the simple wreath of wildflowers in Lily's hair. Lily had chosen a modest wedding dress that reflected her personality, elegant but practical, with none of the extravagance that might have been expected, at a wedding hosted by one of the county's wealthiest men. "Not nervous," Lily replied truthfully. "Just taking it all in. Sometimes I can hardly believe how much has changed in a year." Mrs. Whitmore smiled knowingly. "The best changes often come when we're brave enough to open our hearts to possibilities we never imagined for ourselves." A soft knock at the door interrupted them, and Troy poked his head in. The gruff stable manager had agreed with grumbling good humor to walk Lily down the aisle in place of her father. "They're ready for you," he announced, looking uncomfortable, but proud in his suit and tie. "And if you don't mind me saying, you look beautiful, Ms. Parker. Mitchell's a lucky man." "Thank you, Troy," Lily said warmly. "I think we're both pretty lucky." As she stepped outside to begin the short walk to the ceremony site, a flower-adorned arch set up beside the stream, Lily caught sight of Logan waiting for her, his face alight with love and joy. Beside him stood Midnight, groomed to a gleaming shine and wearing a garland of flowers around his neck, a fitting honor for the horse who had brought them together. The small gathering of friends and loved ones turned to watch her approach, but Lily only had eyes for Logan. With each step toward him, she felt more certain of the path they were creating together, one that honored both their differences and their shared values. When she reached him, Logan took her hands in his eyes shining with emotion. "You look beautiful," he whispered. "Not so bad yourself," Lily replied, taking in his suit, formal but not overly fancy, a perfect compromise between their styles. As the ceremony began, Lily thought about the journey that had led them here. From suspicion to respect, from friendship to love, they had built something neither of them had been looking for, but both now cherished above all else. When it came time for their vows, Logan spoke first, his voice steady and sure. "Lily, when you walked onto my ranch leading Midnight that day, I thought I was simply getting back a valuable horse. I had no idea you would show me the difference between value and worth, that some things can't be measured in dollars and cents." He squeezed her hands gently. "You taught me that true wealth lies in connection, in purpose, in loving and being loved for exactly who you are." Tears glistened in Lily's eyes as she spoke her own vows. "Logan, I came to you skeptical of what a man with your resources could possibly need from someone like me, but you showed me that the truest needs have nothing to do with money or status. They're about finding someone who sees you, challenges you, and loves you completely. I promise to be that person for you every day for the rest of our lives." As they sealed their vows with a kiss, applause and cheers erupted from their guests. Midnight, seemingly understanding the significance of the moment, tossed his head with a joyful whinny that made everyone laugh. Later, as they danced under strings of lights in the meadow beside their new home, Logan held Lily close, his lips near her ear. "Happy?" Lily looked up at the man who had come into her life so unexpectedly and changed it so completely. "Happier than I ever thought possible," she replied honestly. "Me too," Logan admitted, his eyes reflecting the same contentment she felt. Who would have thought a millionaire and a farm girl could find such perfect harmony? "I think Midnight knew all along," Lily said with a smile, glancing over at the black stallion who was contentedly grazing nearby, still wearing his floral garland. "Horses are smart that way. Then we owe him a lifetime supply of apples and sugar cubes," Logan declared, spinning her in a gentle turn that made her laugh. As the evening wore on and their guests celebrated around them, Lily and Logan stood together at the edge of the property, looking out over the sanctuary they had created, a place where damaged animals could heal, where their shared vision had taken physical form, where their future together would unfold day by day. "What are you thinking?" Logan asked, his arm around her waist. "That some things are worth more than $100,000, Lily replied, leaning into his embrace. "And I'm grateful every day that you saw that value in me." "The best investment I ever made," Logan agreed, pressing a kiss to her temple, "with returns beyond anything I could have imagined." As the stars came out overhead, Lily knew they had found something rare and precious, a love built on respect, understanding, and the courage to bridge their differences. What had begun with a lost horse had led to found hearts, proving that sometimes the most unlikely connections become the strongest bonds of all. In the end, Logan Mitchell hadn't just found his missing horse, he'd found his missing piece. And Lily Parker hadn't just saved a struggling farm. She'd discovered that opening her heart didn't mean losing her independence, but rather gaining a partner who valued her strength as much as her softness. Together, they had created a new definition of wealth, one measured not in dollars but in moments of shared purpose, mutual growth, and enduring love. And that, they both agreed, was the richest reward of all. The end.